Welcome to the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. We are here in the sports entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, the sports betting capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. And the NFL divisional round is 24 to 48 hours away. I've also understood that when it comes to the NFL, everything that's going on there, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be great to see who goes where and who goes what. So I will say, when it comes to the NFL, this is going to be a fantastic divisional round, and I'm really excited to see the four matchups that are going to be taking place. So when it comes to the divisional round, let's get started and let's go talk about the team I have right behind me. We go to Buffalo. We have Highmark Stadium, and that would be the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. And you know what? When it comes to this matchup, obviously, we all know about what happened a few weeks ago, the matchup that did not finish. But let's just compare what happened not even a few years ago. And that was the fact that we've seen this matchup before. We have seen the Buffalo Bills. We've seen the Cincinnati Bengals. We have had Joe Burrow and we've had Josh Allen go at it. And one aspect that I will point out is that this game, according to Caesar Sportsbook, I mean, you have right now a situation where you have the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow, a underdog against the Buffalo Bills. And, I have a situation here where the Buffalo Bills, they had a strong start to the year. And then the last few weeks, Josh Allen has all of a sudden become a turnover magnet. Josh Allen has unfortunately shown some dents in his armor. So with the Buffalo Bills being a 5.5 point favorite in this matchup, there's really only two ways to look at this. I could look at it from a spread perspective and take the Bengals plus 5.5. I could say that Joe Burr will be able to get the job done and carry the Cincinnati Bengals team to a win over the Buffalo Bills. But I could also look at it from a straight up perspective. I could compare it to the actual reality. And the actual reality is the Cincinnati Bengals are not going to beat the Buffalo Bills. The Cincinnati Bengals are not going to get the job done. They are not going to win on Sunday. They're not going to beat the Buffalo Bills. And I will give you 5 reasons as to why the Buffalo Bills will get the job done. So for starters, you have a situation with the Buffalo Bills. I trust their offense more than I trust Cincinnati's offense. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, they're pretty good. T. Higgins is solid. Tyler Boyd is great. But the Buffalo Bills, I think their offense will be able to get certain things done and Cincinnati won't. Stephon Diggs is one of, if not one of the best receivers in the NFL. In fact, you can make an argument that Stephon Diggs might be the best receiver in the AFC over Davante Adams. You also have Gabriel Davis, who's become a postseason hero for the Buffalo Bills in the past 2 seasons. You also have the fact that Buffalo Bills, they brought back Cole Beasley. You saw Cole Beasley in action in their game against Miami. Their offensive line, I also think the offensive line of Buffalo is a tad bit better than what they have in Cincinnati. Their defense. The defense is also what's going to matter. And the defense is why I would pick the Buffalo Bills over the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, this is a Buffalo Bills team that has been able to consistently, and I really mean consistently, the Buffalo Bills have been able to do a lot more on defense than their team has actually been able to do on offense. And when it comes to turnovers, when it comes to takeaways, when it comes to getting the job done, really, the Buffalo Bills have been able to do both sides almost near perfectly out there in Buffalo. So I would say the defense is going to be a big part to why the Buffalo Bills are going to win. I say the offense is just a tad better on that front. And also considering the home field advantage, you're going into Buffalo. You're not playing in Cincinnati. You're not going to Ohio. No, you are going to Buffalo, New York. You're playing a Highmark Stadium right behind me. And I'll say this about Bills Mafia. Not only are you some of the most passionate fans I have ever seen in the NFL, but Bills Mafia shows up and shows out to any playoff game the Buffalo Bills have had. And with the Buffalo Bills taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, it doesn't matter how cold it is. It doesn't matter what the temperature is. The Buffalo Bills fan base will be loud and they will be live against the Cincinnati Bengals. So it being a home field advantage, I see it being in Buffalo's favor. So I got the Cincinnati Bengals losing to the Buffalo Bills. That would be my first pick here, doing our NFL divisional discussion here on Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio. And moving on to the next matchup on the AFC side, it's kind of going to be fascinating to see what happens here with this matchup because you have the Jacksonville Jaguars and you have the Kansas City Chiefs. And you know what? I will give credit where credit is due. This is a Kansas City Chiefs team that has probably the biggest home field advantage out of any team that you have in the NFL right now. Arrowhead Stadium, or whatever the heck you want to call it, is a huge home field in the NFL. And I will say, when it comes to Kansas City, not only do you have the best quarterback in the NFL in Patrick Mahomes, but you're taking on a Jaguars team that choked in the first half and really shouldn't have won the game. The Chargers lost that game more than the Jaguars won said game. I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars, you're going to get your participation trophy. Trevor Lawrence is going to get the heck kicked out of him for 45 to 60 minutes. And the Jacksonville Jaguars will lose to the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think this is going to even be a conversation on who is going to win this game. I mean, you have Patrick Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks who's ever played the game, going up against Trevor Lawrence, an above-average quarterback in the NFL. I also have to mention the Kansas City Chiefs have one of, if not one of the greatest tight ends in NFL history in Travis Kelce. It doesn't matter if you have Evan Ingram, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne. You can have all the weapons in the world, but you are not going to have a weapon better than Travis Kelce. So, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, that's going to be a 1-2 punch that Jacksonville will not recover from. And I could really see Kansas City Chiefs going out and winning this matchup and beating the Jacksonville Jaguars and setting up a Buffalo Bills Kansas City Chiefs AFC Championship game in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And you're going to see one heck of an AFC Championship game out there in Atlanta. And you're going to have Patrick Mahomes taking on Josh Allen. Really, the matchup we should have saw last year. Now, moving on to the next part, we have a matchup here that is going to be, I feel, going to be one-sided. There are going to be people who are going to debate this. There are going to be friends of mine who are going to say this will not be a blowout. This will not be a undisputed contest. But I will say definitively that the New York Giants and Philadelphia Eagles, this is not going to be much of a game. You have a Philadelphia Eagles team in Jalen Hurts that has been one of the best teams of football all year long. This is a New York Football Giants that have had their nice little run. All right, it's been a nice run. I had June Pierre on the show. All right, June Pierre, I had him from off the top sports radio from Squad Rebel Radio. And I will say that I did appreciate him coming on the show. He was an excellent guest. One of the best guests I have had. And when it comes to New York Giants and Philadelphia Eagles, this will be a situation very similar to Jacksonville Jaguars. Hey, congratulations. Give yourself a round of applause. Take a bow. You've made it to the divisional round. And now it's time to get your butt kicked by a better team. It is time that the Philadelphia Eagles clinch an NFC championship game by beating the New York Giants. I think Jalen Hurts is not just one of the best quarterbacks we had all year, but if Jalen Hurts hadn't gotten injured, he would have been your NFL MVP for 2022. You also have a running game of Miles Sanders, who is behind the best offensive line in the NFL today. The Philadelphia Eagles, hands down, have the best offensive line you could buy in the NFL today. I'm also reading the comments real quick. You're going with the Buffalo Bills. You're taking the Kansas City Chiefs. You know what, Vegas Mike? I'm going to debate you on that for one reason. That offense you're saying is too strong. Consider who they've had to go up. Consider who they've had to face that's made them look good. Has anybody considered the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals, when they've gone up against teams that have had good passing defenses, Ja'Marr Chase has looked non-existent? Has anybody ever noticed that the last time the Cincinnati Bengals and the Buffalo Bills faced off in full 60 minutes, it was a lot different in terms of who was playing up against who and the matchups and everything. So, considering all of that, give me the Buffalo Bills there, Cincinnati Bengals, their strong offense. I just don't see it. You also say the Eagles have been strong all year. The Giants have struggled. I think it will be back in four. The Eagles will take the win. There you go. Hey, somebody who's smart. Somebody who knows the world of football. But yeah, back to what I'm talking about. Philadelphia Eagles, best offensive line in the NFL. Multiple Pro Bowlers that have been selected. And I also will point out they have a New York Giants team that they have an improved offensive line, but it's not better than Philadelphia's. They have an improved defense, but it's not on the same level as Philadelphia. There isn't much on paper that the New York Giants have that is better than the Philadelphia Eagles. There's not much. And since someone wants to talk about the NFL odds, the Jacksonville Jaguars, a 9.5-point underdog against the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the projected blowout of the week. The Patrick Mahomes being a 9.5-point favorite. And in this matchup here, according to Caesar Sportsbook, the Philadelphia Eagles being a 7.5-point favorite against the New York Giants. And you know what? I understand there's going to be some people who are going to want to talk about this season, right? There's going to be some people who are going to want to recap. They're going to want a little bit of a recap of what happened this year. Well, unfortunately, my recapping skills is going to take maybe about 2 minutes. So here it is. The Philadelphia Eagles had the best record in the NFL. They were the most dominant team in the NFL this year. The New York Giants went 9-7-1 and tied against the Washington Commanders earlier in the year. There's also the same Philadelphia Eagles team that has gone up against the best teams in the NFC and have beaten almost every team that stood in their path. I will not be surprised and I will not be shocked when the Philadelphia Eagles punch their ticket into the NFC Championship game. They beat up on the New Jersey Giants and they face off against the team we're going to talk about next in the NFC title game. Because the Philadelphia Eagles really should have been the best team all year round. And Jalen Hurts should have won MVP if he hadn't gotten injured. I've always said that. I'm going to continue saying that. Just like Carson Wentz, I think back in 2017. Carson Wentz hadn't gotten injured that year. Not only would have he had a Super Bowl ring, but he would have had an MVP by his name too. So, talking about the NFC divisional round, earlier in the show, we did the AFC, and I told everyone that the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills will face off in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. That's going to be your AFC championship, okay? Your AFC title game is going to be Buffalo, and it's going to be Kansas City. Now, this comment right here is fascinating. What's happening in the hockey world? Well, what's happening in the hockey world is a completely different show we do on here. We do a show called Vegas Hockey Hub Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to know what's going on in the hockey world, you want to know why the Knights and the Devils can't win anymore, go watch Vegas Hockey Hub. Hey, Blaze, my good friend, you say go Bengals. Hey, Blaze, you shouldn't have watched the first 10 minutes of this show because I explained why the Buffalo Bills are going to beat your Cincinnati Bengals. Why, despite it probably being the game of the week, and it's definitely going to be, the Buffalo Bills are going to do just enough to beat your Cincinnati Bengals and clinch a spot in the AFC Championship game. Hey, Sean. Hey, my good friend. Good to see you on here. Hey, Ron Thomas. Once again, I know you're out there in Atlanta. I'm looking forward to that AFC title game, by the way. Maybe we'll get some tickets. I don't know. Now, getting on to the NFC side of it, getting to the second team here. We have right behind me, we have the Candlestick Park, aka Levi Stadium. And you have the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm going to give you a little bit of context before I make my pick here. You have the San Francisco 49ers, the 13-4 San Francisco 49ers, team that beat up on the Seattle Seahawks last week. They're going to be taking on the 12-5 Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys team that beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You have a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that shouldn't have been there to begin with. Tom Brady looked more like Tommy from Goodfellas. I mean, that's seriously the way it was. I mean, you have the Dallas Cowboys. They beat up on a team that shouldn't have been there to begin with. And you have a San Francisco 49ers team that beat a team that barely got there and a team that's really going to be a threat the next 4 or 5 years in the Seattle Seahawks. Hey, Sean, there are going to be tears in a couple of days. Absolutely, Sean. In this matchup between Dallas and San Francisco, there are going to be people crying when this matchup ends. Because not only is the San Francisco 49ers most likely going to be the marquee, the most watched game of the week, but you have a San Francisco 49ers team who's a 4-point favorite. The San Francisco 49ers team that is a favorite at home at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. But you have a San Francisco 49ers team that your host, Ian Rakelli, says is going to win over the Dallas Cowboys. San Francisco 49ers team that is going to beat the Dallas Cowboys and move on to take on the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship game. Now, I'm going to give you and everyone watching around the world 4 reasons why San Francisco 49ers are going to beat the Dallas Cowboys this weekend. Reason number 1, the San Francisco 49ers have a better defense, a more well-rounded defense than Dallas Cowboys do. Now, before I break down the statistics, I'm going to acknowledge the Dallas Cowboys do have a good defense. Indeed, they do. But there's a difference between having a good defense and having a great defense. And the problem is the San Francisco 49ers have a great defense and the Dallas Cowboys have a good defense. Now, I was talking to a coworker of mine. I'm going to leave his name out of it unless he wants me to say it. But I have a coworker that I was talking to, and I put up the side-by-side analysis of the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. And yes, there is 1 or 2 categories the Dallas Cowboys are better. But almost up and down the board, the San Francisco 49ers defensively are better than what the Dallas Cowboys were on defense. So in terms of rankings, the Dallas Cowboys are the 5th best defense in the NFL in terms of points for and against. The San Francisco 49ers, in terms of points, are 1st in that ranking. When it came to total yards, the San Francisco 49ers on defense, 1st. The Dallas Cowboys are 12th. When it came to turnovers lost, Dallas Cowboys are 1st, and the team right behind them in 2nd is the San Francisco 49ers. I also want to point out when it comes to fumbles, the San Francisco 49ers are 11th. The Dallas Cowboys are 1st. Ironically, these are one of the 2 categories that they have an advantage of over San Francisco. In terms of fumbles, in terms of turnovers, hey, Dallas Cowboys, go ahead, knock yourself out. But when it came to, for example, first downs, The San Francisco 49ers are second in terms of fewest first down conversions. The Dallas Cowboys are 14th. In terms of passing yards, the Dallas Cowboys are 8th. The San Francisco 49ers are around the mid-20s. In terms of passing touchdowns, the San Francisco 49ers let up the 5th least amount of touchdowns. The Dallas Cowboys, 14th. In terms of the amount of interceptions, the Dallas Cowboys are 7th out of 32 teams. San Francisco 49ers are number 1. San Francisco 49ers had the most interceptions gone their way this year. So that's the first one, the fact that the defense is going to be an advantage here in San Francisco. Number 2, and the second thing I have to point out is the San Francisco 49ers have the most momentum heading into this series. This is a San Francisco 49ers team that has won and won and won and won. I mean, heck, you have to go back to October 23rd to have the last time the San Francisco 49ers lost a game. It has been nearly 3 whole months since the San Francisco 49ers have lost in a single game. The Dallas Cowboys, now they've been impressive, don't get me wrong, but they have had 2 losses in the month of December alone, and they were losses against teams they shouldn't have lost to begin with. The Washington Commanders, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They had to lose to that terrible team in Green Bay, the Green Bay Packers. I mean, this is a situation with the Dallas Cowboys where I look at it and I sit there and I analyze it and compare it and go, this is a 49ers team that has won near 13 straight games. This is a Dallas Cowboys team that has won 3 of their last 5, but has had some bad losses, 2 bad losses during that time period. So when it comes to San Francisco 49ers, they got that momentum on that side. They have the momentum. They have the energy is building up there in San Francisco. By the way, I'm gonna answer this one last time when it comes to hockey. Look, I do Vegas Hockey Hub 5 days a week, but I'll answer it here. Hockey fans can tell you before the game starts that the Golden Knights are going to lose to whoever they play, but they're wearing the gold helmets or the retro jerseys. You know, the disrespect you're giving the glow-in-the-dark jerseys, the best jersey they've ever had, that's disrespectful. Is Tom Brady going to be the Raiders quarterback? I mean, if the Raiders want to have an old 46-year-old quarterback who's going to barely be able to pass for 2,000 yards, then hey, go right ahead. But, I mean, Las Vegas Raiders could pick any quarterback else in the NFL, and it would be better for your team than Tom Brady. I mean, heck, you could take a guy from the concession stands, put him in a jersey, and he probably would give you a better game than Tom Brady would. I mean, heck, you could probably take me, and I could probably do better. I mean, it's a situation where Tom Brady, good old Tom Brady, it's time for him to retire. All right? It is time for Tom Brady, Thomas Brady, to retire. All right? You have been doing this for over 20 years. You've had your fun. You've had your championships. You've had your rings. But it's time to pass up. And besides, you have that sweet broadcasting deal. You're going to make near twice as much money as you did this year. So, hey, there you go. Props to you. This will be a nail-biter going back and forth, but the San Francisco 49ers will win in overtime. Hey, you know what? My prediction was going to be the 49ers will win with a touchdown with a minute left in the game. That's what my prediction will be. The San Francisco 49ers could be Brandon Ayuk, could be Deebo Samuel. But the one thing you have to acknowledge, San Francisco 49ers have one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL. This is a team that doesn't matter if Deebo Samuel is in the backfield or if he's in the slot. This is a San Francisco 49ers team that can get the ball quickly out of their hands. And Brock Purdy has been a pretty good game manager at this point in his career. Who are the Bears trading their number 1 pick to? Hey, you know what? I don't think they're going to trade the number 1 pick. You know, this is going to be a hot take, but hey, I got a few minutes. Why not talk about it? I think the Chicago Bears are going to keep the number 1 overall pick. This is a Chicago Bears team that has built itself on defense. It is a Chicago Bears team that has been founded by drafting Dick Butkus. This is a team that's built itself off of drafting Hall of Famers like Mike Singletary, drafting Hall of Famers like Richard Dent, drafting Hall of Famers like Brian Urlacher, drafting all pros like Lance Briggs. This is an organization that has been well known and established on their defense. Dan Hampton, Steve McMichael. Do I need to keep on going? I mean, they had. Wilbur. Wilbur Marshall. Is this an organization that I just need to keep on going and name every great player they've ever had on defense? Khalil Mack very recently. This is a Chicago Bears team that knows how to build on one thing and one thing only, and that is the defense. So if I'm the Chicago Bears, I'm keeping that pick. And I will say this to scouts. If Will Anderson from Alabama is this good, if he is as great as you say he is, then the Chicago Bears should keep the pick. If he is like Aiden Hutchinson, if he is Chase Young, if he is the Bosas, if he is Myles Garrett, if he's that good, then keep the pick. As a Bears fan, we could use it in our face of the fence. You know what? I'm actually going to have you explain that. Because I think I know who that is, but I might need some clarification here. All right, Dallas by 6. I got San Francisco by 6, so we're pretty much in the same mind frame. Hey, Cooper Rush, the guy is probably going to be a Carolina Panthers quarterback next year. Just give him a minute. But this is a funny thing. Brock Purdy hasn't just been doing it for 5 games now. As a matter of fact, Brock Purdy has almost a dozen games in at this point. This is a Brock Purdy that over his time period has been, 9 games in? Yeah. So Brock Purdy, 9 games in to his NFL career, and he's putting up those stats. 9 games that he has been at San Francisco 49er, 67% completion percentage, over 1,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Look, I'm not saying it's flashy, and I'm not going there, but you can't deny that Brock Purdy in 9 games has done a lot of good for the San Francisco 49ers. Cooper Rush, it's only been a few games, so. Hey, Deborah, I'm talking about the NFC divisional round. I'm talking about who's going to win between San Francisco and Dallas, and I'm breaking down the fact that the San Francisco 49ers are going to beat the Dallas Cowboys and take on the Philadelphia Eagles next weekend. The owners don't like to spend money, so trade number 1 and get 3 picks out of it. But once again, I'm just basing off of what scouts have said. If Will Anderson is that good, if Will Anderson is that generational talent, then the Bears should draft him number 1. Keep Justin Fields, build around him, take your $100+ million in cap space, build an entire offensive line for all I care, get a number 1 receiver while you're at it. And I will say that when it comes to the Chicago Bears, as a Bears fan, this is an organization that if they do it right, if they do very similar to 2018, I will be happy with that. As a Bears fan, if you replicate 2018, bring in a young quarterback, run the ball with 2 running backs, and you bring in a receiver in the offseason that was a highly decorated number 1, you pretty much have a playoff team within 2 or 3 years. 49ers defense too strong for Dallas. I agree with you. I'm also going to say Tom Brady. Yeah, Sean, that's what I thought those stats were. 66%, 4,600 yards, 25 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Tom Brady, like I said, it's time for him to retire. He's been in the league for about 250,000 years at this point. It's time for him to move on. Okay. Oh, hey, look, it doesn't matter what type of defenses those are. fact is, he has played 9 games. Brock Purdy has looked well in 9 games that he has suited up for San Francisco 49ers. So with it being 9 games, like if it was 5 games like Cooper Rush was, I would understand the argument. I mean, trust me, Cooper Rush, I saw him and I said, you know what? He is a backup quarterback at best. If we even had a conversation. All right, go Niners. All right, absolutely, go Niners. Bears always screw up their top pick. The Bears always screw up their top picks. I mean, I could do an entire show on this if you wanted to, but unfortunately, I'll be strapped for time. But this is a Bears team that actually on defense nails a lot of their first round picks. Roquan Smith, for example, would be one of the recent examples. And once again, one of those was in relief. Well, the fact is, he came in relief, got the job done, and they won that game. I mean, Brock Purdy, at this point in his career, his young career, this is a Brock Purdy that the San Francisco 49ers have put in, and he has been a game manager, just like Jimmy Garoppolo has been a game manager. I mean, he is not expected to be Trey Lance. He's not expected to be Colin Kaepernick. He's not expected to be Joe Montana. He's not expected to be Steve Young. He is expected to be an Alex Smith. He is expected to be a Jimmy Garoppolo. He is going to be a guy that's a game manager. He's going to come in. He'll have a decent game, and they'll pick up the win, and they will move on to the next one. So when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers, when it comes to Dallas Cowboys, I'm just saying to you, San Francisco 49ers are going to beat the Dallas Cowboys. I had the Philadelphia Eagles beating the New York Giants. The Buffalo Bills will beat the Cincinnati Bengals. And you have the Jacksonville Jaguars losing to Kansas City Chiefs. So the sports angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. Our AFC Championship game will be Buffalo versus Kansas City. And our NFC Championship game is going to be San Francisco versus Philadelphia. Now, we are actually going to be cutting this short. Well, we're going to be doing a half-hour show on tonight's edition. So I just wanted to say to everyone watching around the world, this was another episode of the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. Next week, hopefully, we'll have a guest come on, somebody who actually will be here and actually will show up. But until next time, I'm your host, Ian Kelly. This is another fantastic edition of PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. Thanks for the shout out, Sean. Until next time, continue watching football, watch all of the playoff games, and have a good week.